Oh, now it's recording. It doesn't like doing it with the USB thing plugged in. Okay, just a quick thing here to show what I do when I've got any end sprout on my frets. Now this is an old neck which isn't going anywhere or doing anything really at the moment. It could do with being refretted at some point. Anyway, but the issue with this is, let's imagine it's got some fret sprout, and fret sprout happens when you basically refret or fret a neck, and when you bevel the edge of the neck with a device like this, and that puts onto the end of the frets a very precise sharp bevel, and it kind of runs absolutely microscopically flush with the edge of the wood, and just by the mechanics of how this does it, this will come down to the edge of the fret, take away all the metal until it just starts taking away the finish or the wood, and then you stop. So you get at that point in time a microscopically flush thing. Now over time it's very likely that the neck will absorb or lose moisture somewhere along the way, depending on which climate or part of the world or whatever that it's in. And if that happens, then of course by taking on water it expands slightly, or by losing water it shrinks slightly, and the result is that microscopically flush surface that you got on that day will not be the same anymore. Either the fret will be pulled back from the edge of the expanding wood, or it'll stick out over the edge of the shrinking wood, and you get, in that case, the latter case, you get what's called fret sprout, and it feels really, really sharp because this device puts an incredibly sharp edge on the fret. As soon as you pull that fret away from the edge, or the wood recedes inside it, for example like that, you get this bit sticking out, and that bit was originally basically beveled down to a chisel point, and now it's sticking out, and it's amazing how quick you can feel it. Now there's a couple of ways you can deal with this. You could get this old block out again and go back down the side of that, and if it was significant you might want to do that. So for example, there's no real reason to do this, but I could go down this neck again, and I'm just seeing and hearing that actually there isn't much fret sprout at all on this, and really what I'm taking off, as you can probably see when I blow the dust, is I'm just taking off finish. Now actually that's kind of okay to do, because when you get down to that level you really are flush, and actually hardly has taken any lacquer or anything off the end. But let's say you had fret sprout, that would have taken off the excessive metal. Then you can do another thing, which is I get, in this case it's 240 grit around a piece of foam, and I went to B&Q once upon a time and I bought this foam flooring stuff, and you can see that I've been using it over time. It's great for making little sandy blocks when you're finishing your lacquer, your poly finishes on a headstock or whatever. A bit of this wrapped round. When you're using water I just wrap it around and hold it, but in a case like this it's quite useful to put some double-sided sticky tape on. This is fairly old now, but the principle would be that you get this with your flat surface. The tiles tend to have a sort of bobbly surface and a flat surface, so we get the flat surface, and basically with your 240 grit you're going up and down at approximately the same angle as the original end bevel was, or put it another way, very slightly more than the angle, because you want to clean up those ends. Now you can see the lines where I'm doing it. Again, you do just about touch the edge of the lacquer as well, right on the edge, but if anything it just rounds it over slightly, and you start to get a nice clean edge. And you can play around to see which way the edge works best for you, or it's not too critical if you don't get the angle exactly right. You're looking to clean up those ends and make sure there's no sharp bits sticking over. And, the dust sometimes discolours the lacquer a little bit, and you might want to clean it with something like naphtha or whatever. And then once you've done it with 240, I tend to go on to something like 600 and do the same thing again from any particular angle you like to do. And this generally softens off the edge of a fingerboard quite nicely, and if you roll it over at this point even flatter on towards the edge of the top of the frets, you then round it off a lot more. Now that isn't as kind of precise and geometric looking as
No.
as, hey, I'm on the timer here, 5 minutes, oh, 5:01. It's not as pretty looking as those beautifully chiseled, geometrically, polished up frets, but for playing with your hands.
Playing with your hands?
There goes my nut. That gives you a much softer edge to your instrument. Right, I'm out of here. That was 5 minutes 20. Goodbye.